So before we begin, I'd like to first thank ACOM for working with us on this and setting out this webinar to their members. It's exciting to be able to get that out there and teach people about this new way to survey their students. My name is Jacob Danzy. I'm CEO and co-founder of Involved. And this is Jim Hopp, Emerson Dean of Students. He was one of our first customers and has been ran a few questions over the this past month that have gone pretty well.
Yeah.
So great. Once we begin, kind of wanted to quickly kind of go into where this started. It's amazing. I mean, I think I look back at the first question that we ran. It was the SGA election one, which was only like April 3rd. So it's only been about a month.
It's been about a month.
Yeah, but it seems like it's been a little bit longer than that. But kind of prior to running these couple questions, which we'll dive into the dashboard on, kind of wanted to get your thoughts on sort of like before using Involved, a little bit about like the problem and sort of how you gathered feedback from students prior to this.
Right. I think we've struggled with finding an effective way.
Cool.
You know, it can be kind of dependent on small focus groups, which aren't necessarily always the most diverse in their opinions.
Sure.
It could be we've depended a lot on institutional surveys,
Okay.
which are helpful, but
Yeah.
have a little bit of a time lag, and students experience survey fatigue.
Yeah.
You can only do so much and expect folks to pay attention amidst everything else that you're asking them to.
Yeah. So for the institutional surveys, you would basically outsource it to another group to set up like a Survey Monkey or something like that.
Some we do on our own.
Yeah.
And here we don't necessarily have a central clearing point for surveys, and
Right.
so
That's interesting.
it's possible for lots of departments or programs to unintentionally compete with each other.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
set
Yeah.
things out.
Right.
A day or two or on the same day.
Nice. Yeah. So what made you interested in using Involved or trying it out?
So what intrigued me the most was the emphasis on the engagement.
Mm-hmm.
That it was very, very specific, and it was geared towards things that you already had a sense might be on people's minds.
Cool.
As I looked at what the use had been within local government, it was very specific, and I think sometimes with our surveys, students don't necessarily know what we might do with it.
Right.
And the questions that I saw used from your other clients, from the government clients, all seem to have a very specific use.
Yeah. There's one focus, which is kind of sort of what we were going for. So just a little bit more about Involved for those who don't know about it. It is a survey software, and our goal is to make it as simple and easy as possible for someone to submit a response. So when we're working with students, it's a single question that goes out. Our main channel is email, but we also do text and social media, and they can answer the question directly inside of the email. And just because like subject line is a question, they can answer it right there. And we've seen response rates 10-20% of the entire student body. So great. One of the things I guess we could step back to was that first question that we came up with. It was basically a get out the vote effort for the SGA election. Kind of wanted to know what your thoughts were on running that one as the first one, and what your goals were there.
Well, one of the other things I was impressed with was when I looked at some of the examples. The questions were, in some ways, they had the incentive of engaging folks, but they also had the ability to inform folks and get their attention in a way that they might not have paid attention. They might not always read if it was an email.
Right.
And so we've struggled with attendance for student government elections. And so it seemed like it was about a week, but 10 days before when we launched the first question.
Yeah.
So the question was, do you intend to vote in the election on this date?
Right.
Yes, no, what election?
Yeah.
And we'd originally intended to do an automatic follow-up with the folks who clicked what election.
Right.
But we decided to go about it a little differently and put all the information in the comment or in the general part of the question or the email. And the comments we got were really helpful. And through all the surveys we've done, it's it's a double bonus because we get the aggregate data of just the graph of everybody's choices.
It's like the high level, but then it's like going into the weeds.
The comments in the comments sections in each case have given us some very helpful data that we might have missed.
Right. Sure.
So for example, in the student government election, about 10 seniors responded back saying, "Well, I'm a senior, I can't vote."
Yeah.
Well, they can. You know? So we did some extra outreach to the senior class just to remind them, you can vote. Here's how to do it. Here's a primer on the issues.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Same kind of thing. So we have campuses in Los Angeles and the Netherlands, and some of those folks had responded saying, "Well, I'm in LA. I can't vote." Well, no, you can. And so here's how you can do it. You know. So, and so we saw the highest voter turnout we've had since. First, I was told it was the highest ever, and now I'm told it's the highest since 1982.
That counts.
So might as well be for
right. Cool. So yeah, one of the things I wanted to switch to is actually the my computer screen. So this is an example of the email that was sent out to the Emerson students. As you can see, it's coming from the Dean of Campus Life and their email. The question's in the subject line, and it's branded for Emerson. And like you said, it was, are you planning to vote in the upcoming SGA election? Yes, no, what election? So each email that is sent out to these students is unique, where this choice is tied to the student's email address and the answer that they select. This way, when they click to answer, it's automatically captured. So getting someone to respond is as simple as just clicking an option, and then the answer is saved, and then they can leave a comment. And this is where, like you mentioned, we got some really insightful data. So on to the dashboard side. This is the administrative side. So this is what the Dean of Campus's dashboard looks like. We do have some filters for heat mapping and geographic information, but really at a high level, it was getting the qualitative data, which was 500 responses, which was like 12% or so of the student body.
And our open rate was almost.
It was like 60%, which was, I'm interested obviously to hear too, like what your typical open rates are. I think by having like poll in the subject line, it just got a lot of people's attention that way too. What else was surprising was the number of people who said no, which it was like 197 people were saying no to this, and at least it's authentic in that it's like they're taking the time to at least answer this, even though they don't plan on plan on voting for SGA. So I think that might have maybe turned some more people onto voting too, because you gave some more information about it. So a little bit more about this dashboard. We do have a comments tab where you can see individual comments, and then the engagement where we track the open and click rates, how you can apply automatic replies and send up follow-ups to people, and then some other information.
I've already heard from students that the update feature is something they appreciate.
Really?
Because they often feel like they give us this information and it just kind of goes into a void.
Right.
And so I've tried to be sure that everybody who responds eventually gets
like some sort of
feedback. Here's the results that you shared. Here's some of the trends we saw in comments. Take it as an opportunity to correct any misinformation or remind folks of things. So it's and that surprised people.
That there was like it kind of had a back and forth, right? Yeah. So we did a similar thing at the city level with the city of Newton, where they put out this question, and it got like 600 something comments back. And what I think surprised people there was we sent out an update like frequently asked questions, and then responded to like the top questions that were coming back. So kind of seeing that people are actually reading these comments and can respond back that way has been really key. I think one of the things, like, if you don't have that, you'll start to see like drop off.
Right.
But because you guys are starting to do that, actually the number of responses for each question has been going up each time. Right. The last one was the late night breakfast one was unreal.
Yeah. Almost 900.
I think it was like 700, which was like 18%. Yeah. So the other one you guys ran following that was more information gathering for your guys' purposes. It was identifying what's the primary source that people use for gathering information.
Right.
I'd like to hear more about your thoughts on running this question.
So, I think like a lot of campuses, we constantly hear that we communicate too much or not enough, and that people have a difficult time finding information.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had a question that asked, where was their primary source? And we listed the top 8 campus options, including the new student newspaper, the student online paper, just our all-campus emails, other platforms that we have.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it was helpful to see that even though folks complain about the volume of email, that was
by far
what folks use.
Pull that guy up.
But then, in the comments, we got some really helpful feedback in terms of, is there a way to digest all the emails I get over the course of a day? Or, if you send an email, why do some offices make it last 3 pages and some only do 2 lines, right?
Right.
Have some consistency.
Yeah.
Is there a way to put a little marker for something that we're going to be held accountable to, so that we can, at least have some heads up that, I should read this amongst the other 200 emails I got today.
Right. So it's interesting because obviously, 54% of people selected email as their primary information source. But then again, in the comments, it's like, but I get a ton of email. So there's insight there, but it's like, okay, so this clearly works. But it's, I guess, good for your office to kind of see the balance that it takes when it comes to the campus-wide emails. And then obviously social media is another one. We did look at the responses from the previous question and the students that were more engaged and willing to vote, and how that kind of affected this question's response. We did that filter. It was interesting to actually compare the more engaged student body and see how I think they were more likely to use the Berkeley Beacon Online or something like that. So it's a good way to kind of cross-reference other questions and see how that could help with, get some more insights.
Right. I feel like with each question we get a little more insight about how to better communicate, how better to engage, what people are looking for.
Cool. Yeah. And then, so this last one I didn't really get a chance to talk to you about before, but late night breakfast must be a hit. That got 18% of the student body ended up responding. It was a similar question to the SGA one, where it was kind of a awareness outreach building, but it seemed like that one went really well. Yeah,
it did, and again, the comments really helped us, because a lot of students who live off campus thought they couldn't come. So we were able to. Everybody who clicked that "I'm not allowed to come" option got an email back that said, "Everybody's welcome."
Right.
We got a lot of feedback about people don't like to come because it's too crowded.
That's interesting, because crowded usually means, okay, this was successful.
Right.
But it makes sense.
So there wasn't so much we could do about this particular event, but we do it twice a year, and we've already taken that feedback into our planning for the one that we're going to do in December.
Right.
So it's important to me that folks who are taking the time to respond see that we're actually doing something with the information. Yeah, I didn't know that you guys updated the people who responded, that they weren't, didn't think they were able to go, and that's a really cool use of targeting that additional information back out to them. Cool. I'll actually just highlight that really quickly. And it's great to see the trend over just this month of 3 questions. Each one has gone up considerably in terms of the number of students who are ending up responding. Yeah, so 3% or so of people didn't even think that they were eligible, which is, really great to see interacting that way and using this as a way to let people know about this event, and kind of just add an interactive component to the newsletters, where it feels more like, even though it's just an email back and forth, it feels more two-way at a larger scale. Yeah. The other important feedback we got from a lot of the folks who said, maybe, or I'm not sure, I've got a conflict. We have a significant number of students who live off campus. We're in Boston, and it's hard to come back to campus at 10 p.m. after you've been gone for a couple hours. And so this is one of our major opportunities to kind of engage the student body at the end of the semester. And we're alienating 30% of our students just by the fact that we have it. And so we're going to plan some other things that'll be midday. Okay, that's in addition to this. So for people who don't have to go back first. Right. So it's it gives us a little bit more insight into are the things we're doing impactful and influences some little changes.
Mm-hmm. That's great. I know the school year just ended for you guys, so I'm really interested to. You guys ran 3 questions over the past month. I think that's a pretty good cadence. I'm interested to hear like how often you plan on running questions and where do you see this really going for the next school year.
I'm thinking about doing a handful over the summer.
Really?
And we'll have to be thoughtful about how we do it. But I'm curious to see how folks want to
engage outside of the school year.
Right. And because typically in about 2 to 3 weeks, folks will start to miss things, get a little bored, and so maybe that's a good time to do some outreach and get some information out there.
That's interesting. I didn't think about that. And just a more kind of like internal question. What's sort of your process for coming up with these questions and how you choose to run them?
So I've just tagged a team of about 15 folks, students and staff, and it's kind of a brainstorming pit. Cool. And we throw out ideas, and but we've been really emphasizing the engagement. We're trying to stay away from "How are you feeling today?" questions. That it's not that we don't necessarily want to know, but I think people get tired of answering that.
There'd be fatigue. With that.
And so my hunch is, like what you shared, that our response is increasing because people see the impact of what they've shared. Mm-hmm. And so I think this team that we've got building questions is seeing that too. Right, and
they're probably getting better at like making the questions engaging and that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah.
And I know on the last one too, not just the responses, but the number of comments was like double as well. Yeah. And some of them were just like, "I love late night breakfast" or something like that. So that was, it's really cool to see how it's starting to even like pick up some more as I think even like students get used to this kind of interaction.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Thanks for coming and thank you for your time. Do you have any other things you might want to add or that we might have missed?
The thing I'm going to spend some time on this summer is, I shared with some colleagues across campus that we were doing this initially. Mm-hmm. I think staff, just like students, hear a lot of things, and now that we're doing it, I'm getting a lot more questions about, well, wait a minute, what is this?
Right.
Some supportive and maybe some not.
Interesting.
Concerned about how we're using data, so it's giving the opportunity to engage conversation, reach out, explain again what we're hoping to do. My challenge now is going to be that lots of people are wanting to use it.
That's what I'm thinking. And are you starting to get people being like, "Hey, run this," like having their own like trying to push for questions that way?
Yeah. I know I still owe you a few things in terms of some of our data follow-up, but
we'll get there.
I want to reopen the contact list because now that I understand it a little better, I see how we can use this even with some subpopulations.
Yeah, you can pull in all of those different basically segments that you have and target questions to specific people that way.
And I think that then it won't necessarily mind if folks have multiple questions open at the same time if they see
if they're being more targeted.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess like one example of that might be like a question just to seniors or just to student athletes or or people in this college.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. That makes sense because then you can have people running multiple questions, but as long as it's like not 10 questions to the same person a day, it's segmented that way. That could be really effective.
As long as folks feel it's relevant and that they're getting something from it.
Yeah.
I think we'll be okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, cool. Awesome.
Great.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
We have a question. We did just wrap up, so we can open the floor to Q&A. There's a chat box on the right side of the YouTube. If you want to post any questions there from the audience, and we might be able to cover them. Michael McDermott asked, how would I get more information from Involved? So our website is www.involved.vote. So you can get some more information there. But it's also, you can reach me in my email. If you see jacob@involved.vote, you can just jot down my email and be happy to share any information that way. Another one, how much does it cost? So it's tiered based on the size of the college, but it'd be an annual subscription. Probably expect to pay a couple $1,000s a year for unlimited access to run these kind of questions. Cool. So anyone else who would like to ask questions, they're happy to. But other than that, thank you for doing this with me. This was great, and I'm excited to see where it goes from here, and hopefully we can get some more universities and people on board and trying it out, because it's exciting.
Well, I'd offer a plug too that you all have been really helpful and accommodating. I mean, you've made it an easy process for us, and you've also been really responsive to kind of our individual quirks and questions. To make this work the best way it can on our campus.
I think the integration process was actually pretty smooth. It took a minute to we set up with your Google groups, and that was just a back and forth with IT. But then it's literally you just pull down the different tags that you want, and you can send questions out to them. So I was excited to see that was pretty smooth.
Yeah.
What is the setup process? How does a dean integrate an email list? All right, that's a good segue.
The dean calls IT
for
help.
Yeah, he talks to IT, and so here's the dashboard again. I'm going to go to the integrations page. So here's all the different contact management systems we integrate with. At least in Emerson's case, we used G Suite, and we worked with the IT department to authorize Jim to do an integration with their Google emails, and then he just pulled all of those contacts in the various segments that they already had set up. And then when he goes to run a question, you can share it with those various segments. As you can see here, Los Angeles students is one, student affairs is one, so is student emails. If there's anything else, I think we're all good.
All right.
Yeah. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure, and I'm excited to see what you guys do with this over the summer and next year. So we'll be around and as attentive as ever to making sure it works great.
Me too. Thanks.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks. Oh, we do have one more question. I can stick around and answer these, but if you're happy to be a part of it too. How do I run a question? That's as simple as back to the dashboard. You click create a question here. I won't run anything. And you enter your sentence, create the email subject line, put in your options, and then put in any background information that you'd like. And this turns out looking similar to this, where then it sends the email out. Are you planning to vote? The options, and then the background information that they selected. Cool. I might just keep this up, see if any other questions come in, but I think we're good.
All right.
Great. Thanks
a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, feel free to hang out as long as you
Yeah.